everybody, my name is KiahOnFire and welcome to an ARK video. Today we're going to be looking at cementing paste. We're going to be looking at some really useful ways to farm cementing paste when it comes to any ARK map, and at the end we'll do some island orientated beaver dam locations you could go to as well. One of the most traditional ways to do it is to hunt for beaver dams, but it's not always the most ideal way to go about it, especially if beavers aren't spawning properly or the dams are highly contested. It can be quite difficult to pitch yourself a very nice beaver dam. You could always see about making cementing paste in a mortar and pestle, but often or not that is a very expensive way to do it. But there is a much better way you could go about this to get a lot of cementing paste with very little effort, and that requires you to get a frog, aka the Beezel Buffalo. However you want to say it, the frog. You'll find frogs in the swamp, and all you need to do is trank it, knock it out, feed it some prime meat, and off you go, or kibble if you fancy. I highly recommend, if you can, putting a good saddle on it. If not, it doesn't matter too much. Either way, you could always have a guardian with it. Like I like to have a baryonyx follow mine, but you could use anything to guard it as well. But the idea is you're going to be going around the swamp on your Beezel Buffalo, and you're going to be looking for tiny little things like Meganura or Titanimera drones. And the reason you want them is because the frog has a special skill of turning these into cementing paste when it licks them. A thing you could do as well to get these little biters to come along is you could always kill an animal and leave the corpse around. And then usually the dragonflies are really tempted to go to the corpse and they'll fight you for it, and that's a good way to kind of attract them to your area so your frog can lick them up and get some good cementing paste. Either or, there's always a lot of cementing paste and dragonfly in the swamp, so you shouldn't be too pressed to find some. Just a quick tip as well, if you are struggling for Meganura, you could always go in the Redwoods cave on the island for a lot of bugs. There is tons in there, and it could be really good bringing a frog in there because it's small enough to go inside of that cave. Another thing with eating the bugs with your frog, it will give you a lot of chitin, so often or not, you can actually use that chitin in your chem bench or your mortar and pestle and use it to actually get cementing paste as well, more cementing paste, because you could grind stone on a dodic or something and then put that in there as well, and then you're really maximizing the use of resources that you can grab, and that's a bit more cementing paste for you. But using the frog is a really efficient way of getting cementing paste. But what are some other ways you could go about this? Well, frog is not your cup of tea and you're like one of these people that like to min-max and whatever else, you could always go about taming a snail, an Achatina. The snails can be found in the redwoods or the swamp, and sometimes in some caves, but often not you should be able to find one in the swamp. You tame Achatina on sweet vegetable cakes, and you also feed them sweet vegetable cakes for life, so do bear that in mind. That is the cost for them, although they won't eat too often once you've got one set up, but you will probably need to feed it quite a few to get it tamed. You'll probably want to look up your rates versus the level of snail you find on dodo decks when it comes to taming one. But pretty much, if you get a snail and you put it on wandering, they have this ability that passively over time, every minute they will produce one paste. So they will do this until they reach 100, and then they will stop producing paste. So every time they hit 100 paste, you will need to take the paste out of their inventory, put it in a storage box so they can produce another 100 paste for you, and so on. So if you were to tame a bunch of snails, you could have a lot of free paste going around, and you could always weigh down the snail quite a bit if you don't want it moving around too much. But this is a really good way of getting cementing paste passively without much effort. You just need to put effort in the beginning and effort in to feed snails, as they will eat vegetable cakes throughout their life cycle. Now, like I was saying in the beginning of the video, a lot of people like this method, but it's giant beaver dams. But the reason why I put it last is because a lot of the time, and this is just my experience on the islands when it has launched out of Acer, that beavers are not spawning very well at all. They're spawning kind of like how Spinos used to spawn on the island when the fish took over their spawn points. So it's not very common that I'm getting the beaver dams. This is why I wanted to make this video in general. But beaver dams are another way you can get cementing paste, and you can get large quantities of cementing paste, rare flowers and mushrooms when you go for the dams. So they are a very popular method of doing so, and you'll probably find on future maps in ARK Ascended that you'll probably get a lot more beaver dams spawning when it comes to different spawners and different maps, because they might have them on different zones and stuff like that that might fix that issue. But I'll show you a few locations on the island that you can get beaver dams and just talk about it in general, because if you find a spot with beavers, they will spawn beaver dams, and those are these little wooden piles you can go for, and they're usually filled with wood, the cementing paste, the flowers and the mushrooms. You want to take the cementing paste, the flowers and the mushrooms and pearls occasionally, and chuck out the wood so more can spawn in the future. Don't be one of these people that leave beaver dams with wood in them. Don't do that. It's not very helpful to you or others that you play with, if you do play with others, that is. Just bear in mind, when you grab beaver dams, the beavers around do get hostile because you've attacked their home, so you'll want to make a quick job of it or kill the beavers in the area before you go for these. And if we're looking for cementing paste, places to find it is 4863. This is a river between two metal mountains and the tip of the Redwoods, and there's a swamp biome around as well. You can often find beaver dams underwater or on the beach lands around here. You could also find them a little further up the river, unusually a bit rarer, at 4367. This is another spot you could have a look at for beaver dams. You also have a chance of finding beaver dams at 5530. The top of the Redwoods and near the volcano kind of area. Usually these will definitely be underwater, so you'll want to have a look under the water for these. Another common spot I find these is at 7142. You can have a look around there for some beaver dams. It's often quite a good spot to farm them out. And the other spot I frequently find beavers is at 7661. This is a great place for beginner beaver dams to find them very early on. The other option is to find them through drops and places like that. That is also a possibility as well, or creatures that go down for you. And that is another way you can find cementing paste. Anyway, this is my guide on cementing paste. Thank you for watching. I love you all, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye!